President Donald Trump is considering a major policy shift regarding NATO, particularly about defending alliance members who do not meet defense spending requirements. In an interview with Fox News on March 6th, Trump stated that the U.S. would not defend NATO members if they do not contribute enough to defense spending. This idea is part of the Trump administration's strategy to encourage NATO countries to spend more on defense, specifically meeting the goal of spending 2% of GDP on defense, a target many member states have not fully met. According to NBC News, the Trump administration is considering a new approach, including prioritizing military exercises with NATO countries that meet the spending goal, as well as reducing U.S. military presence in countries that do not comply with the spending requirement. This could lead to the U.S. halting military support for NATO members who do not meet the requirements, which could strain relations between the U.S. and its NATO allies. Additionally, this move might challenge Article 5 of the NATO Charter, which states that an attack on one member is considered an attack on the entire alliance. NATO currently has 30 member countries, including the U.S. and Canada, and Trump has repeatedly criticized these countries for not meeting defense spending requirements. Poland, an EU and NATO member, believes that Europe can win the arms race against Russia. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk stated that Europe is determined and ready to take responsibility for its own security. He expressed confidence that the European Union, EU, is capable of winning the arms race, which he accused Russia of initiating. In a speech at the EU summit in Brussels, Belgium, he said, "Today, everything has changed. I want to mention both the proposals of the European Commission and the determination of all my counterparts in Paris and London yesterday. Everyone is determined to face this challenge, enhancing defense capabilities." Tusk noted that this event could mark a turning point for Europe in strengthening its defense, developing the weapons industry, and dealing with the challenges posed by Russia. He emphasized that discussions about strengthening Europe's defense capabilities have been ongoing for some time. Tusk stated that the war in Ukraine, the shift in the U.S. administration's stance towards Europe, and above all, the arms race initiated by Russia, are presenting new challenges for Europe. Europe must face this challenge and must win. I am sure that Russia will lose in this arms race, just as the Soviet Union lost in a similar race 30 years ago, the Polish Prime Minister emphasized. He added that this will help prevent a larger conflict. Today, Europe is ready to act for security. We are preparing to arm ourselves faster, smarter, and more effectively than Russia. There is no reason to be overly optimistic at this point, but I believe this is a turning point because Europe has recognized the responsibility it bears, he added. Russia has not commented on Poland's statement. On March 4th, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen introduced the ReArm Europe program, which could mobilize up to €800 billion, $866 billion, for Europe's defense. Von der Leyen stated that the ongoing EU Security Summit is happening at a turning point for Europe, where decisions must be made to enhance defense capabilities and strengthen Ukraine. In this special moment, we need special measures. This is a turning point for Europe, and Ukraine is part of our European family, which is also a turning point for Ukraine. Europe is facing a clear and present threat, so Europe must be able to defend itself, as well as position Ukraine to defend itself and promote a sustainable and just peace, she stated. We want peace through strength, and that's why today I am presenting to the leaders the ReArm Europe plan, a plan to provide up to €800 billion to invest in defense, she added. She emphasized that this would provide an opportunity for European countries to make significant investments in their own defense industries, as well as produce weapons for Ukraine directly in Ukraine and purchase weapons to support Kyiv. Ukrainian soldiers acknowledge that morale among their comrades has decreased, and more soldiers are being killed on the front lines after the U.S. reduced military aid. According to soldiers on the front lines, the number of fatalities has increased following President Donald Trump's decision to suspend military aid to Kyiv. The soldiers say they are feeling the pressure from the dwindling supply of weapons from the U.S., and with the upcoming summer months, when the fighting tends to intensify, they fear that Ukraine has lost the initiative. Their pessimism grew after the U.S. confirmed it had stopped providing intelligence to Ukraine, leading to a significant decline in fighting spirit. "We haven't been the aggressors for the past few months. It's sad to say this, but we no longer have the initiative on the battlefield," said Slava, a 27-year-old combat medic, speaking from a village located between the Dnipropetrovsk and Donetsk regions. U.S. support has been a critical factor in helping Ukraine defend itself against Russian missile attacks and carry out long-range strikes. Meanwhile, intelligence from Washington has not only been vital for Ukraine's attacks on Russian positions or defense, but also for protecting civilians. "I'll be blunt, everything is bad and will get worse, but we have to keep fighting," said Artem, a 30-year-old combat medic. Artem is responsible for evacuating wounded soldiers from the front lines. He mentioned that he had noticed a 20% increase in casualties in recent weeks. "I think the number will rise even faster. Moreover, the weather is warming up. Better weather conditions mean more intense fighting," he warned. On March 5th, the White House stated they would consider restoring military aid if Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky returned to the negotiating table. Following this, reports emerged that Zelensky had agreed to continue peace talks with the Trump administration after Washington stopped sharing battlefield intelligence. However, Ukrainians fighting on the front lines in Donetsk warned that even if aid is resumed, it might be too late to stop Russia's advance. "It's not a straight line anymore, it's a winding line, making defense more difficult," Slava said. "Drone attacks are the biggest issue. We can't drive to evacuation points frequently, but we also can't stop to fully care for the wounded. I want the whole world to know that more people are dying because of this," Artem said, referring to the consequences of the U.S. cutting military aid. Slava added that now is not the time to stop sharing intelligence, calling the move a gamble with the fate of our country.